All right, what's up? It's David Dole. That's my name. This is a live stream because this is happening right now. So there may be something announced today. This is supposed to be a major announcement. All right. Usually they don't say there's going to be a major announcement unless something major is going to be announced. Usually. So we are going to find out. This so basically, there could be an update in the civil probe into the alleged tax fraud at the Trump Organization, possibly launching a civil suit against Donald Trump. There has been, an ongoing, long time investigation into the Trump Organization by the New York AG. So we will see here if anything comes of this. And of course, this is one of many investigations into the illegality of Trump and the Trump Organization. Essentially, we got some, here we go, an example here. Trump claimed apartment was 3 times its actual size to increase value. So this stuff has been, trickling out over the years at this point. I mean, there's a lot was discussed around, recent investigations of Trump in terms of how he would inflate his assets to benefit him and then devalue them to benefit him, depending on the situation, depending on, whether he's trying to get a loan or whether it's tax time. So that is just one example, one of the many examples of the kind of person Trump is. And he's been doing this kind of shit his entire life and has always gotten away with it. I have a hard time imagining anything going to change in terms of, him being held accountable for anything. But, things can happen. People may be held accountable. Sometimes things seem impossible before they happen. So, I don't know. But also, I just felt like I wanted to go live today. So that's so this was more of an excuse for me to go live, if anything. So I'll bring up some random stories later on, ones that I may be working on or ones that I just want to mention here. But I actually want to be doing, so after taking that week off, so as we wait for this live stream to start, which is supposed to start at 11:30, that's 11:31 now, so should be starting shortly. But during my week off, I did a lot of brainstorming in terms of what I want to do with this channel, where I want it to go, how I want to change some things, because look, it's been years now. 6 years, 7 years, I don't even know. But I've been doing this for a while, doing it in a similar way for a while. I want to change things up a little bit. My old videos they won't go away. I'm still going to be doing those sorts of videos, but I do want to be doing a lot more live streams. I want to be doing more sort of just, laid back, talking about the news, talking about things, talking about other topics as well. It doesn't have to be super political all the time. And that's also, I think, a good way to, branch out and just potentially reach different audiences, people that we need to educate that typically are not normally in these spaces. But yes, love the shirt. This is the Letter Hack Michael Brooks shirt. Check it out. It's pretty sweet. But this will start shortly. So let's quickly go over some of the information that I saw here. I'm sure we'll hear this when it goes live. Volume is up. So it was initially going to begin actually at 10:30. Then it was pushed an hour. I'm glad it was, since I was able to do this. So the teasing of the major announcement has led to many people predicting that James will reveal new details on her long-running civil probe into alleged tax fraud at the Trump Organization, or launch a civil suit against the former president. So her office is looking into allegations the Trump Organization exaggerated the value, as I said, of a number of assets and properties to obtain better loans and other financial benefits. Already we've had Ivanka and Eric Trump testify as part of the probe. However, Donald and Eric Trump both invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination hundreds of times, while answering questions in August 2022 and October 2020, respectively. And Trump, of course, famously said, why would you invoke the Fifth Amendment unless you're guilty? So, obviously he's guilty for a number of reasons on a number of things, but allegedly guilty. We will see. But so Trump has frequently denied any wrongdoing. All right, yes, witch hunt. Okay, somehow Letitia James being racist against Trump. It's so stupid. But I don't know. Something's coming. Something's coming. Maybe it's major, maybe it's not. I tend to keep my expectations very low, as nothing, as I said earlier, ever happens. So expect nothing. Expect this to be nothing. Expect it. Maybe it won't even be about Trump. It's about something else. So keep expectations very low. That way, if something does happen, you're like, wow, I can't believe this thing really happened. But, you know, we're going to find out. So what's the chat? What's the chat saying? Let me see. Stephen Graham says it is great to change things up to keep things fresh and relevant. I agree. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Some days it isn't even necessarily the news. It's just how I cover it. And like yesterday, it was a slog to do. Like I wanted to cover that Tucker Carlson segment. It was a slog to do it. And then after doing it, you know, it was like all day just in embedded in this one story. So I missed like a bunch of other more important minor things. But I don't know. It's I think healthy to explore different ways of doing this work, because if you do the same thing too long, at least for me, it can get very draining. Miles says, let's talk Miami Dolphins football. I don't follow football at all, but I will say I may start following the Bills. As a Toronto native, they are basically our team, I guess. Buffalo Bills. So if they do well, I start watching. And from what I understand, haven't they won their first two games? So I'm paying attention maybe in the future. And I always watch the Super Bowl, even if I don't really care who wins. You are not late, Scoop. They are always late to these things, so at some point this is going to start. But it is live. Something will happen. Know the Bills, David. Facepalm from the Herman on the Lake. Hey, I am both a Toronto Maple Leafs and now maybe a Bills fan. I only back the best teams, the most winningest teams that win all the games, win all the championships. I'm also a Raptors fan, and they at least won once recently, so that's good. I will say I would follow football more, or I should say the NFL more, if Canada had a team. But it's hard for me to care about a sport where I don't really have a team to care about. Dylan, thank you. I will keep up the good work. I will try. Do you watch MMA? Occasionally, I will watch a fight. Same with boxing. I'll occasionally watch a boxing match. Though I missed the Triple G fight on the weekend, and apparently it wasn't good. So. Football equals brain injuries. Yes, it does. That is true. Still Alive says, do you think rioting from the MAGA people will happen if Trump actually gets indicted? They're all calling this Gestapo tactics, or gazpacho tactics, because of course, LOL. Oh, yes. They will find any way to riot, of course. That doesn't mean you shouldn't hold people accountable. Oh shit. As I said, expect nothing. Lower your expectations.
Good morning. Following a comprehensive 3-year investigation by my office including witnesses, interviews with more than 65 witnesses, and review of millions of documents that were submitted by Mr. Trump and others, I am announcing that today we are filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump for violating the law as part of his efforts to generate profits for himself, his family, and his company. The complaint demonstrates that Donald Trump falsely inflated his net worth by billions of dollars to unjustly enrich himself and to cheat the system, thereby cheating all of us. He did this with the help of the other defendants, his children, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump, and former Trump Organization CFO Allen Weisselberg and Trump Organization Controller Jeffrey McConney. Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization repeatedly and persistently manipulated the value of assets to induce banks to lend money to the Trump Organization on more favorable terms than would otherwise have been available to the company, to pay lower taxes, to satisfy continuing loan agreements, and to induce insurance companies to provide insurance coverage for higher limits and at lower premiums.
I forgot to tweet this out.
This conduct was all in violation of Executive Law, Section 6312, which gives the Attorney General broad and special powers to go after persistent and repeated fraud and illegality. As part of demonstrating illegality under that section of Law 6312, we show that they violated several state criminal laws, including falsifying business records, issuing false financial statements, insurance fraud, and engaging in a conspiracy to commit each of these state law violations. We believe the conduct alleged in this action also violates federal criminal law, including issuing false statements to financial institutions and bank fraud. And we are referring those criminal violations that we've uncovered to the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York and the Internal Revenue Service. As a result of these violations, we are asking the court to, among other things, permanently bar Mr. Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, from serving as an officer or director in any corporation or similar entity registered and or licensed in New York. To bar Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization from entering into any New York State commercial real estate acquisition or from applying for loans from any financial institution in New York for 5 years. To pay for the financial benefits obtained as a result of the persistent fraudulent practices at an estimated $250 million. And towards the end of my remarks, I will go into the other relief that we are seeking. At the center of the year-long financial scheme were the statements of financial condition that were prepared annually by and for Mr. Trump, specifically from 2011 to 2021. These statements were compiled by the Trump Organization executives and were issued as a compilation report by Mr. Trump's accounting firm. The statements are explicit that the preparation was the responsibility of Mr. Trump. Or starting in 2016, the trustees of his trust, Donald Trump Jr. and Allen Weisselberg, for the sole benefit of Mr. Donald Trump. Each statement was personally certified as accurate by Mr. Trump or by one of his trustees as part of the loan process, with the intent that the information in the statement would be relied upon by banks and insurers. Mr. Trump and Mr. Weisselberg would meet to review and approve the final statement every year. Mr. Trump made known through Alan Weisselberg that he wanted his net worth reflected on the statements to increase, a desire Mr. Weisselberg and others carried out year after year in their fraudulent preparation of the statements. And when asked about these meetings under oath as part of our deposition, both men, Mr. Trump and Mr. Weisselberg, invoked their Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination, and they refused to answer.
This is the shit Michael
When
Cohen
asked
was
under
talking
oath,
about.
if
How Trump inflated his assets.
Mr. Trump, continued to review and approve the statements after becoming President of the United States in 2017, Mr. Trump, again, invoked his Fifth Amendment privilege and refused to answer. Over the course of our investigation, we found that Mr. Trump, his children, the Trump Organization, created and used more than 200 false and misleading asset valuations on his statement of financial condition over that 10-year period. They issued statements that were in clear violation of general accepted principles in the general accounting principles in the United States, despite representing that these statements were prepared in accordance with these principles. Some of the common tactics they used include representing that Mr. Trump had cash on hand that he did not have, ignoring critical restrictions that would significantly impact property values when setting valuations, changing the methodology used to value properties from year to year without reason or notice, and using vastly different methods to value different properties even in the same year, and including tangible items such as brand premiums, the Trump premium, when calculating an asset's value, despite the fact that they ignored the advice of outside professionals. They also ignored the advice and appraisals of outside professionals, despite claiming those individuals provided certain figures. For example, they received a series of bank-ordered appraisals for the commercial property at 40 Wall Street in New York City that calculated the value of the property at $200 million as of August 2010, and $220 million as of November 2012. Yet, in his 2011 statement, Mr. Trump listed 40 Wall Street with a value of $524 million, which increased to $530 million over the next 2 years, more than twice the value calculated by the professionals.
How did he get
Even
away
more
with this
egregious,
shit for so long?
the $500 million plus valuation was attributed to information from the appraiser who valued the building at just over $200 million. Another deceptive strategy they employed was to use objectively false numbers to calculate property values. Take Mr. Trump's triplex. You know, the triplex apartment in Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue? Mr. Trump represented that his apartment spanned more than 30,000 square feet, which was the basis for valuing the apartment. In reality, the apartment had an area of less than 11,000 square feet, something that Mr. Trump was well aware of. And based on that inflated square footage, the value of the apartment in 2015 and 2016 was $327 million. To this date, no apartment in New York City has ever sold for close to that amount. Tripling the size of the apartment for purposes of the valuation was intentional and deliberate fraud, not an honest mistake. Mr. Trump was intimately familiar with the layout of both the building and the apartment, having personally overseen the construction of both. Despite his sworn testimony before invoking his Fifth Amendment privilege, Mr. Weisselberg conceded that using the false square footage improperly inflated the value of the apartment almost threefold. Mr. Weisselberg admitted that this amounted to a overstatement of, give or take, $200 million. Misrepresenting the size of the apartment was only one of the many ways that Mr. Trump intentionally misvalued his asset for the purposes of increasing his net worth and inducing banks to offer more favorable terms. Mr. Trump also routinely ignored legal restrictions on development rights and marketability on properties that would significantly decrease property values. For example, let's take Trump Park Avenue in New York. This building contains both commercial and residential space. The unsold residential condo units owned by Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization represented the lion's share of the reported value for this property. Mr. Trump and his children intentionally ignored legal restrictions on some of the units that would have drastically changed the valuation. Specifically, the 12 of those units were actually rent-stabilized apartments. A professional appraiser valued those 12 units at around $750,000, noting that the rent-stabilized units cannot be marketed as individual units for sale because the current tenants cannot be forced to leave. Despite this professional valuation, and Mr. Trump knowing full well the legal restrictions the 12 rent-stabilized units were valued, he valued them collectively on his statements at $49 million. That is about 65 times the appraised valuation.
Oh my God. How did he do
Mr. Trump
this
also
shit?
blatantly ignored legal restrictions at Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago was valued on the false premise that it sat on unrestricted property and could be developed for residential use. However, Mr. Trump knew that Mar-a-Lago was subject to a host of onerous restrictions and limitations. Mr. Trump himself signed deeds sharply restricting changes to the property and donating his residential development rights in an effort to get a tax deduction and later to lower his property taxes on the property. The deeds also require Mr. Trump to donate over 23% of Mar-a-Lago's value to the Historic Trust for Historic Preservation if he ever sold it. Despite these significant restrictions, Mr. Trump valued the property based on the false premise that it was an unrestricted residential 18-acre plot of land that could be sold and used as a private home.
Honest mistake. They're going to try and claim these are all honest mistakes.
In fact, the
they all
valuations
do
represent that these restrictions
That's the only defense here.
don't even exist.
And it's not even a defense. But that's, I mean, they're going to try to,
The club
deflect.
generated annual revenues of less than $25 million and should have been valued at about $75 million. However, Mar-a-Lago was valued as high as $739 million. Mr. Trump used inappropriate schemes to inflate the value of his other golf clubs. He valued the clubs based on their fixed assets. In other words, the money spent to acquire and to maintain them, despite being informed by valuation professionals that this practice was inappropriate for a club operating as an ongoing business. He again added a brand premium when determining the value of the club, but claimed in his statements that he did not. And he inflated the value of unsold memberships, often by hundreds of thousands of dollars per membership, even in situations where the memberships were given away for free at Mr. Trump's direction.
Fucking crook.
Inflating his reported net worth was just the first part of the scheme. He then used these false statements of financial condition for his own personal gain. Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization have obtained hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate loans and insurance coverage using these statements. Mr. Trump was able to secure much more favorable loan terms by personally guaranteeing the loans based on his reported net worth, as reflected on his statements of financial condition. These statements were key integral to Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization's ability to secure loans for a number of properties, including the old post office in Washington, D.C. Mr. Trump's statements were first submitted to the federal government to demonstrate his financial status, his net worth. He then engaged with Deutsche Bank to obtain a loan to redevelop the property. Mr. Trump was able to obtain much more favorable loan terms by personally guaranteeing the loans. So in 2014, he secured a loan from Deutsche Bank for $170 million. And as you know, in May of 22, Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization, they sold the post office, the old post office property, for $375 million, resulting in a $100 million net profit, which was the result of a loan he was able to obtain through the use of false and misleading statements of financial condition. Separately, Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization saved an estimated $150 million by receiving favorable interest rates that were only provided based on the false and misleading statements of financial condition. We also believe that he illegally saved millions of dollars in federal tax benefits, conservation easement donations related to Seven Springs in Westchester and the Trump National Golf Club in Los Angeles. And this conduct is not the subject of this action, but we are referring it to the IRS and to the Southern District of New York. The examples I laid out just barely scratch the surface of the misconduct that we have uncovered. The complaint, which all of you should have a copy, is more than 280 pages long. It includes examples from 23 assets that were grossly and fraudulently inflated. And those inflated values were used on Mr. Trump's statements almost every year. All told, we uncovered more than 200 examples of false and misleading asset valuations that were used on his statements. The pattern of fraud and deception that was used by Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization for their own financial benefit is astounding. Inflating the values of assets by whatever means necessary.
That's some good delivery.
To increase Mr. Trump's purported net worth.
This is one of the biggest criminals in American history.
Net worth was used to further enhance his financial standing, intentionally misrepresenting his financials to obtain incredible economic benefit. It was a scheme that, by its very nature, became more profitable over time. And it is all in stark violation of the law. As I mentioned earlier, the relief that we are seeking specifically, we are asking the court, again, to permanently bar Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, Eric Trump, Ivanka Trump from serving as an officer or director in any corporation or similar business entity registered or licensed in New York State. We are barring Mr. Trump and his organization from entering into any New York State commercial real estate acquisition for 5 years. We are barring Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization from applying for any loans from any financial institution registered with the New York Department of Financial Services for 5 years. We are requiring Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization to disgorge the financial benefits obtained through the persistent fraudulent practices, a baseline at the minimum of $250 million, and to appoint an independent monitor at the Trump Organization to oversee compliance, financial reporting, valuations, and disclosures to lenders, insurers, and tax authorities for no less than 5 years. We are requiring the Trump Organization to prepare on an annual basis for the next 5 years a GAAP, a generally accepted accounting practices compliant audited statement of financial condition showing Mr. Trump's net worth to be distributed to all the recipients of his prior statements of financial condition. To replace the current trustees of the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust with new independent trustees, or require similar independent governance if a new trust is created, and to permanently bar Alan Weisselberg and Jeffrey McConney from serving in the financial control of any New York corporation. And lastly, to cancel any certificate filed under and by virtue of the provisions of Section 130 of the General Business Law for the corporate entities named as defendants and any other entity controlled by or beneficially owned by Donald Trump, which participated in or benefited from the ongoing financial scheme. In other words, permanently prohibit any of these companies from doing business in the state of New York. I want to be clear. White-collar financial crime is not a victimless crime. When the well-connected break the law to take in more money that they are entitled to, it reduces resources to working people, to regular people, to small businesses, and to all taxpayers. Everyday people cannot lie to a bank about how much money they have in order to get a favorable loan to buy a home.
No, they
Or
cannot.
to send their kid to college. And if they did, the government would throw the book at them. Why should this be any different? It is a tale of two justice systems, one for everyday working people and one for the elite, the rich and the powerful. Mr. Trump and his allies may say that these penalties are too harsh,
Not harsh
or
enough.
that this is part of a witch hunt. I will remind everyone that this investigation only started after Michael Cohen, his former lawyer, testified before Congress and shed light on this misconduct. And the remedies are consistent
Thanks to AOC,
with
by
what
the way.
we have sought
She asked
for
the
other
question.
businesses that committed the
Worth pointing
same
out.
misconduct. This investigation revealed that Donald Trump engaged in years of illegal conduct to inflate his net worth, to deceive banks and the people of the great state of New York. Claiming you have money that you do not have does not amount to the art of the deal. It's the art of the steal.
I
And there
guarantee
cannot
you,
be different rules for different people in this country or in this state.
right-wing media will attack her for that line
And former presidents are no
and claim
different.
it's political.
And so today we are making good on that promise, on our commitment, because no one is above the law. And I would like for them to stand. This investigation was led by Senior Enforcement Counsel Kevin Wallace, Senior Counsel Andrew Amer, Assistant Attorney General Colleen Faherty, Assistant Attorney General Alex Finkelstein, Assistant Attorney General Will Handley, Assistant Attorney General Stephanie Torre, Assistant Attorney General Austin Thompson, Special Counsel to the Solicitor General Eric Herron,
So I'm going to recap
Enforcement
this
Section
once she's
Chief
done.
Louis Solomon,
I'll go over
Legal
what
Support
came out.
Analyst Samantha Stern. Additional support was provided by a data analyst, Anusha Chowdhury, Senior
And
Data
like, as far as I
Analyst,
can, she's naming off names right
Akram
now.
Hashanoff,
As far as I can
Data
see, the only way the
scientist
right's going to
Chun
try and
Soo
defend
Song.
against this
Deputy Director of Research and Analytics,
is by attacking
Megan
her
Thorsfeld,
and the way she
Director of
announced it,
Research
or
and
like
Analytics,
her
Jonathan
cadence and
Warburg,
some of the
as well as
lines she
information
made, like the
technology
lines she made about
specialist
the
Yu
art of the
Chin
steal,
and information technology specialist Paige,
because they can't
Paul
defend what he
Dolan,
actually did.
information technology
Because
specialist
what
John
Trump did
Roach. Appellate
has been
support
talked
was
about.
provided by
I
Deputy
mean, it was
Solicitor
already
General
discussed earlier,
Jay
actually
Hale.
brought up by Michael
Assistant
Cohen,
Solicitor
thanks to
General
questioning by
Eric
AOC at the
Del
time.
Pozo,
He's the one that brought that
all
up, and then
under
they
the
started their
oversight of
investigation.
First Deputy Attorney
Like,
General
This is what
Jennifer
Trump has done.
Levy.
This is how he has,
I thank you for your service.
You
You may have a seat. Now, I know that I've
there's
provided you with a lot of numbers, a lot of property. Members of the team will be available to answer any specific questions, but at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Delaney, who's going to lead the Q&A on-topic questions.
You get
Thank
questions
you.
too. Okay. I
Delaney?
will recap the stuff as I said, but let's hear what some of these questions are.
Yes, Attorney
Sorry,
General.
can I just yourself and say your
Sorry, Jonathan Dean with NBC.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, you say that there was criminality involved here. I was wondering if you've referred this to the Manhattan DA as well. You've been part of that investigation. And should we expect to see state charges out of the Manhattan DA's office?
As you know, there is a parallel criminal investigation being conducted by the District Attorney of Manhattan, and we are cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney, and any information that he is requesting, we will submit it to his office. We cooperate with any law enforcement agency, including but not limited to the Manhattan DA. Thank you.
Adam Reese, NBC. You said that his career and his empire was basically a sham and smoke and mirrors. Can you just describe, are you trying to shut him down, and where do we go from here?
So, again, this investigation has to do with his statements of financial condition over a period of 2011 to 2021. And this is an attempt to seek redress for the taxpayers of the great state of New York, for individuals in the great state of New York. And he could reconstruct, reorganize a number of these corporations, but the relief that we are seeking from this judge is, again, for him to reform his practices in the state of New York and to prohibit him from engaging in any real estate commercial transactions in the state of New York going forward.
But only for 5 years.
As you note these, oh, I apologize.
Even
Henry
with the
Ross, Office
consequences.
611. As you note, these allegations are at least 3 years
be a
old.
little
That's
stronger.
the origin of your investigation. The DOJ
But I'm not
and
sure what the
IRS have
limitations
had
are
access to
of
the
her
same
office.
starting points that you did. With these referrals, do you hope to force their hand into action?
It's not a question of forcing their hands. It's a question of presenting to them evidence, which we believe suggests illegality and suggests that he was engaging in a number of schemes to benefit himself, his corporation, and his family. And so we will present this information to the District Attorney of New York if he requested, as well as the Southern District of New York and the IRS, based on the allegations that we uncovered, based on the evidence that we uncovered.
CNN.
Hi.
Are you willing to settle with the Trump Organization? And if so, what terms would be appropriate and favorable for you that you would agree to settle?
I will not negotiate in public. And as you know, as been publicly reported, we rejected settlement offers that they submitted, and our doors are always open.
Washington Post. It's been suggested by Mr. Trump and his advocates that they were engaging in standard practices. This is standard in a real estate business. How is what they were doing different from standard practice here? And can you comment on that defense that's been offering?
This conduct cannot be brushed aside and dismissed as some sort of good faith mistake. The statements of financial condition were greatly exaggerated, grossly inflated,
And it was
objectively
repeated.
false, and therefore
Over
fraudulent
200
and illegal.
false statements.
And as a result of that, we are seeking relief, and Mr. Trump, the Trump Organization, his family, they should all be held accountable. And that is the purpose of this litigation that we are filing today, in addition to referring the criminal conduct to the Southern District of New York, as well as the IRS. No one, my friend, is above the law.
But he's not going to jail, at least not over
Madam
this.
Attorney General, I have two-part question. Number one, is there anything to prevent Mr. Trump from establishing his corporations, even for the properties in New York, in another state, since he has now become a legal resident of Florida? And secondly, you called it, Donald Trump Jr. has already started tweeting that this, quote, the Democratic witch hunt has begun, if you'd like to respond to that as well.
So with regards to the name calling, as you know,
These are such fucking crooks. It's amazing.
Basically, have attempted to delay
Witch hunt my
this
fat
investigation, and two judges have dismissed those claims that this was a political witch hunt. So I give no credence to those to the names that.
Imagine you fucking lied on your taxes. It's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt.
And to
no one else, no one
Mr.
normal
Trump,
would get
the
away
Trump
with any of
organization,
this
as well
shit.
as his family will still have to deal with this complaint.
He's gotten
They will
away with
still
this
have to
for
respond. They will
decades.
still have to respond to the allegations therein.
Like for this for something to
if,
finally
in fact,
come
he
out of
decided
it.
to move to Florida, the reality
And
is
we're still
he still
talking
has
about-
to deal with the great state of New York
Like
and respond to the complaint.
The consequences here aren't. I'll get to them in a second. Again, she has limitations in terms of what she can do, but they aren't even that bad considering what he did.
These corporations are currently incorporated in the state of New York. Some are incorporated in Delaware, but they do business in the state of New York. And he cannot just pick up and those same corporations can be moved to Florida. No. And again, Marcia, just to put a finer point on that, we are attempting, as part of our relief, to dissolve these corporations.
Laura Italiano from Insider. In practical terms, much of former President Trump's biggest money-generating properties are in Manhattan, in New York State. Would he, if this relief is granted by the judge down the road, would he be able to collect rents, to obtain loans on the properties? What precise, what practical implications to sell the properties should he want to? Is the incorporation that's filed in New York necessary for him to do those things?
So again, most of the corporations have been incorporated in the state of New York. There are some that have been incorporated in Delaware, but they continue to do business in the state of New York. We are permanently barring Mr. Trump and his family members from serving as an officer or director in any entity in the state of New York. We are barring him from entering into any commercial real estate transactions for 5 years. We are barring Mr. Trump and the organization from applying for any loans for 5 years, just for 5 years, requiring him to repay the financial benefits of $250
I'm gonna go over a lot of
million,
this after,
placing a
but look,
monitor
this is
over
my big question.
these corporations, appointing,
Remind me why
requiring
the
him to
Attorney General
file
cannot,
a gap
of a
compliant,
state cannot bring criminal charges.
financial
Because it is-
statement of financial condition, replacing the trustees.
Anyone else.
If in fact he creates
I
a
feel like
trustee and
the punishment would be a lot harsher than what it is here.
and Jeffrey McConney, and canceling the
But-
certificate of incorporations
Let's finish these questions.
for those corporations that we discussed. Yes.
Follow-up. Are these relief that a judge would have to approve?
Yes.
So these things aren't happening at the moment?
Correct.
But this is what will be litigated now down the line?
Correct. And it's important also to understand that Mr. Trump will continue to have a financial interest in a lot of these corporations. And so if he decides to, at some point in time, sell them, or if he decides to restructure them, again, this is all part of the relief that we are seeking. I said to Marcia that we're seeking to dissolve them. That was incorrect. We're not seeking to dissolve them. He still has a financial interest in these businesses and corporation.
Meaning he still owns them?
Correct.
However, to collect rent, to obtain a loan based on them as collateral, to sell the property, maybe I'm missing some other practical things. If approved by a judge down the road, these are things he would not be able to do with those properties.
Correct. For the next 5 years.
We're going to take 2 more questions.
Interesting.
Hi, Josh Gerstein with Politico.
Yeah.
Madam Attorney General, can you explain something about how the former president, you allege he did this for at least a decade or more than a decade. How did he get away with what you're saying he got away with for such a long period of time? A lot of these transactions are with some of the largest financial institutions and insurance companies in the state of New York. Do they just not check anything that people tell them, or they presumed it was true, or did they have hints that these things were not true that they were being told? And what does it tell you about those institutions that they would take his word for it?
So let me just say, with respect to Mazars indicated on the statement of financial condition that they did not certify and they did not audit these statements. That does not absolve Mr. Trump of submitting accurate information. 2, with respect to Cushman Wakefield, there is an ongoing investigation into Cushman Wakefield. And then lastly, with respect to Deutsche Bank, we're in conversations with Deutsche Bank. They have been cooperating with our office.
Last question. Do you feel like this lawsuit is going to be resolved quickly, or do you feel like this is going to be a drawn-out process?
So that's entirely up to the judge. That's good? Okay.
All right.
I thank you all for coming, and if there's any specific
I'm going to
questions,
recap what
I
happened.
believe my members of the team will answer your questions. Thank you.
All right, cool. So, civil lawsuit. Something finally. Now that, that doesn't mean that there isn't more coming. But this is a civil lawsuit from the New York AG. Let me go over the details here. I will also show you the clip. years ago that led to what you just saw here. And, just a lot of information around this. All right, so here is the breakdown from the AG herself. Today, I filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump for engaging in years of financial fraud to enrich himself, his family, and the Trump Organization. There aren't two sets of laws for people in this nation. Foreign presidents must be held to the same standard as everyday Americans. So, the actions of consequences. We are seeking to make Trump pay $250 million, ban the Trumps from running New York businesses for good. For good. Now, it is New York businesses. I guess they could just go to the next state, but there you go. Ban Trump and Trump Org from buying commercial real estate in New York for 5 years. I guess they're seeking to do these things, but if the Trump Org is banned from New York, how could Trump even get any real estate? I guess, unless it's personally. But 5 years. We're making a criminal referral to the U.S. Department of Justice. All right. With the help of Donald Jr., Eric, Ivanka, and other defendants, Trump variously unlawfully inflated and deflated his net worth by billions to obtain and satisfy loans, get insurance benefits, and pay lower taxes. In short, he lied to gain massive financial benefits for himself. And again, I will get to what led to this. We found that Trump, his family, and the Trump Org used fraudulent and misleading asset valuations over 200 times in 10 years. Again, this is not an honest mistake. Over 200 times in 10 years on his annual financial statements. These statements were then used to obtain hundreds of millions of dollars in loans and insurance coverage. And why did he keep doing it? Because he kept getting away with it. Trump is one example. Now, I do think he is an extreme example. I do think he's one of the worst criminals in American history. But I'm sure other wealthy people do this shit as well. Maybe not over 200 times, but they do it. And they often get away with it because of the power and the wealth that they hold. But finally, somebody here, at least one of the worst versions of this, having some charges against him. Trump's crimes are not victimless. When the well-connected and powerful break the law to get more money than they are entitled to, it reduces resources available to working people, small businesses, and taxpayers. Like this is going to be the reply. You are so dumb that, because what are they going to say? So I guess this is the last tweet in the in the thread. Otherwise, there'll be something else here. You are so dumb, really dumb, for following the law. Unless this is direct towards Trump, in which case, but I don't think so. Colorado conservative. All right. So finally, something. Now, what led to this? Well, this right here. Trump can thank AOC for. Now, look, it may have happened regardless, but Letitia James stated this is when they began the investigation. So hopefully it starts at the correct point.
Do you know, to your knowledge, was the president interested in reducing his local real estate bills, tax bills?
Yes.
And how did he do that?
What you do is you deflate the value of the asset, and then you put in a request to the tax department for a deduction.
Thank you. Now, in October 2018, the New York Times revealed that, quote, President Trump participated in dubious tax schemes during the 1990s, including instances of outright fraud that greatly increased the fortune he received from his parents. It further stated from Mr. Trump, quote, he also helped formulate a strategy to undervalue his parents' real estate holdings by hundreds of millions of dollars on tax returns, sharply reducing his tax bill when those properties were transferred to him and his siblings. Mr. Cohen, do you know whether that specific report is accurate?
I don't. I wasn't there in 1990s.
Who would know the answer to those questions?
Alan Weisselberg.
And would it help for the committee to obtain federal and state?
Who was also held accountable. But there you go. This line of questioning here from AOC to Michael Cohen. This is what led to their investigation. And ultimately, look, when you have people that actually know shit get to be involved in these sorts of things and ask questions and bring things up, you have, some good results occasionally. And we would see a lot more of these results if more people like AOC would be allowed to join these committees and ask these questions. But there you go. So I put this up earlier, but it is I don't know the specifics here, but I would like to know why the AG of a state cannot bring criminal charges against Trump for what he did. But that said, something's being done. I think there's more I saved here. So from Vice, and by the way, sorry, I'll grab some super chats. I saw it too earlier before I started. I think I already responded to Morning. This is Michael Brooks on the shirt. TM Falgrim says that shirt, Michael Forever, left his best. Agreed. Still Alive says, how many lawsuits is it now against Trump? I don't know. I don't know how many. There's a lot of investigations and criminality going on. But so there's something here I wanted to bring up. So this just recaps a lot of what Letitia James was saying. Dropped a legal bomb on Donald Trump and his adult kids. Went over some of this already. So I said at the beginning of the stream, I brought up how Trump has called Letitia James racist. Racist for investigating Trump for his crimes. Racist. Okay. It's just, this shows you they have nothing. If he had a better defense, he would use it. This is his defense. Oh, she's racist. It's a witch hunt. But how about the crimes? Do you have any defense of those? These people are so overtly and obviously criminals and disgusting people that it's just, it blows my mind that everybody in support of him must know, right? That he's a criminal. They must. They can't think this is all just made up out of thin air. Like, this has been obvious for a while. He is clearly just look at how he ran for president. Remember he said healthcare. He would have healthcare for everyone. Then he tried to strip away the one of the few protections Americans have, which isn't even all that great, but it was something in the ACA. And where's that healthcare plan? Remember the healthcare plan? Oh, it's 2 weeks away. It's coming. No healthcare plan. It was all bullshit. He's a complete con man. Like, you don't even have to go to this. Like, it's obvious from the way he conducts himself in any situation. But so all of this is just, yes, clearly he's a criminal. He's been doing this for years. So because it is a civil dispute and not a criminal indictment, Trump's invocation of the Fifth Amendment didn't actually save him from harm. In a civil matter, invoking the Fifth can be used as a reason to make what lawyers call an adverse inference, or in plain terms, the conclusion that someone didn't want to answer because the truth didn't look good. So maybe using the Fifth was not the greatest idea for Trump and his children there. Trump's son, Eric Trump, likewise invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 500 times. 500 times. And as Trump said, when you use it, it means you're guilty. You're hiding something. So both of them hiding something. Trump's company is scheduled to go on criminal trial in late October over a separate set of accusations involving failure to pay taxes on benefits awarded to its employees. The company's, this is the man of the people. The man of the people. The company's long-serving chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, pleaded guilty to his role in orchestrating those payments in August and agreed to testify against the Trump org. You heard Weisselberg brought up in Michael Cohen's testimony there. Weisselberg received a much reduced sentence and may serve just 100 days, but the judge overseeing the case has warned him that if he lies about the company on the stand, he could face up to 15 years. So, I'm sure Weisselberg, has only helped to add to this investigation. But that, I think, summarizes most of it. Let me grab some chats. Just a lot of good stuff. It's just to finally see him held accountable for some, and we aren't seeing the, I brought up the asks. We aren't seeing the actual, this actually implemented yet, or him paying back any of this money yet. But for this to finally be out there in the open, there is this lawsuit. This is what he did. They have many examples. They just gave a few during that press conference, but they have many examples of the criminality that he was involved in and how he inflated his assets. More than 200 false statements about his assets over 10 years. One apartment he inflated from, it was $750,000. It was valued at that, just $750,000. He inflated to $49 million. from $750K to $49 million. What else here? I think the stuff I wrote down was already summarized in those tweets. Let's see what else is here. Reaction here from Michael Smith. Manipulated the value of assets, persistent fraud, insurance fraud. We believe conduct also violates federal law. Toast, toast, toast. I mean, this is a lot of people right now talking about this. Apparently Trump is melting down. Should we find out what Trump is saying? I want to see. I guess he's on what? Truth Social? Let me see. I'm not seeing anything yet. It was an hour. His last message was an hour ago. A message about Putin. Okay. So. Oh, but Don Jr. He was breaking down, right? How is he drying his tears? I don't follow any of these freaks, so I gotta like find them. Here we go. If I had to read tweets from these bozos every day, I'd go insane. All right, let's see what Bozo's saying. Illegitimate. How? I don't know. Because she is pointing out how he's a criminal.
My soul right now is Trump.
So because she accurately hates Trump because she is a normal person with a brain, what does that have to do? Again, this is what I said they would do. They would attack Letitia James. They would not be able to defend against the actual criminality, so they attack her character. Like, I guess it plays to their base, but you're not going to win anybody over with an argument like this. Is that it? So is that just that one tweet? Because what the hell are they going to say? Was this one too? The bullshit Dem witch hunt continues. Okay. Freaks. Man, I think all of us would like to see these criminals in jail at some point. Often there are no consequences for their actions. Mike H says, "Hi, David." Hello, Mike. How's it going, Mike? Brenda Johnson, thank you for your super sticker there. All right, so as I am looking for chats here, also worth mentioning, if you'd like to join the show, become a patron, help support the show. Where's my thing? Here it is. Actually, Streamlabs working too. Let me see this. Oh shit, it is. Look at that. Damn. Sweet. Okay, I'll leave that up. But anyway, rationalnational.com/join. That's the Patreon page. Help support the show. I am planning to do a bit of an expansion of the Patreon. I want to engage with Discord more. So you get to join the Discord. That's part of that benefits there. But also I'm planning to do a weekly podcast. I'm not sure when it will start. It may start next week. It may start next month. But a weekly podcast is going to be a video version that will likely be for patrons only, and everyone else can get the audio version. So stuff is coming. I am doing things that are going to be a little bit different in terms of how I deliver some of this stuff, but the podcast will be a lot more laid back. It'll be less structured, I guess, and more enjoying me enjoying myself. So I won't just talk about news. I'll also bring in some other things, maybe talk personal life, have some fun. But there you go. So let me see if there's anything that I have missed here. I don't know. I just feel like there's like everything's coming at once. Maybe just here, just the initial announcement, in case you missed it at the beginning. Just the quick clip here. I'm not sure I'll do all 3 minutes, but let's just see.
It's a 3-year investigation by my office, including
While I search for
witnesses,
something else.
interviews with more than 65 witnesses, and review of millions of documents that were submitted by Mr. Trump and others. I am announcing that today we are filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump for violating the law as part of his efforts to generate profits for himself, his family, and his company. The complaint demonstrates that Donald Trump falsely inflated his net worth by billions of dollars to unjustly enrich himself and to cheat the system, thereby cheating all of us. He did this with the help of the other defendants.
All right, I want to show you this. I just saw the tweet. Let me watch this. Fox cuts away from AG Letitia James announcing a civil suit against Trump, claiming it's really inside baseball. All right, let's you got to see this.
Some people may even accuse. So the New York State Attorney General has just announced a rather lengthy and detailed layout of the lawsuit that she is putting against.
It's too
Donald Trump,
complicated for our
former
audience.
president. Some of this is really inside baseball unless it's your tax dollars in New York. And some people may even accuse it of being political because we're 48 days away from the midterm elections.
Yes, which Trump is famously running in. What? Why would that matter at all? So she first says, oh, it's just New York. Who cares? I mean, just New York, whatever. And then, oh, and now it's political because it's affecting the entire midterms of the entire country. Doesn't have to be logical, just has to trigger the right people watching.
And some people may even accuse it of being political because we're 48 days away from the midterm elections. And both presidents, the current and the past, are certainly being looked at to help candidates out. So we'll see how this plays out. We're certainly going to cover it, and we'll bring you highlights as they.
By the way, do you think this would even hurt Republicans? Like what? Like even if you want to say it's political, the people that are voting that right now are thinking about voting for Republicans, they don't give a shit about this. If they haven't already left the Trump train, why would this now make them leave? Come on. No, this is this idea that, like, when is a good time to bring an investigation? Or when is a good time to lay a lawsuit? If they wait till after the midterms, oh, well, now he's running for the primary. We can't do it now. Like there's no good time to do any of this. These people, regardless of what the hell is going on in the world, if you broke the fucking law as many times as Trump did, and you're a obvious criminal, I don't care if it's the day before the election. You broke the law. If this is when the investigation's over, this is when it's over, this is when they're laying the lawsuit, that's it. You have to be held accountable. You can't tell, like, if you lied on your taxes, you can't be like, oh, well, next week is my cousin's birthday. Not a good time. Can you hold off on your charges until after? Like, no one else is afforded any kind of leeway like this. But we're just supposed to assume that, oh, it's perfectly okay to allow these massive criminals on a national scale to just wait a bit longer because they have things to do. They have rallies to go to. Get the fuck out of here. This bullshit. I'm sure there's. I gotta see. Like, this is the right wing reaction to me is comical and worth breaking down how ridiculous these people are. If I can find some more, because that's just great. Law and order. That's right. Law and order. You called for law and order. Well, this is law and order. Let me see who's good at laying clips. This dude. I'm searching off screen right now, but if I find something, I will show you. Nope, nothing here. Man, there's a lot going on. Biden just gave a speech to the UN. Many things happening. Many things happening. Okay. Well, amazing. So again, hopefully this is just, the start of this kind of thing, and we see some more. But it just feels nice to finally, for something to finally happen. That is maybe just a tiny repercussion, a tiny little consequence for the criminality that Trump was engaged in. Flower says, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. You got it. Is there a prima facie case that Trump is a witch? All right, I'll grab some of your chats and then probably get out of here. Though I do love streaming. I gotta say, I like. Don't tell the regular viewers. I think I like streaming more than I enjoy doing videos. I don't know. It's just more fun. A lot of Law and Order, a lot of Lock 'em Up. MAGA tears incoming. Let's check the usual dipshits. Let's check what's Ben Shapiro saying. Well, clearly this is very political. Not seeing a reaction. Interesting. They got to get their talking points in order, Just he's waiting, and then he'd be like, "Oh, it's very political." When she brought up how it's not art of the deal, it's art of the steal. She's too political, and then just not talk about the actual laws that were broken. See, Crowder, he's a dipshit. Let's check him out. Nope, nothing. Amazing radio silence right now from some of the major players. Just pretending this does not exist. Tim Gould. Tim Gould. See what Pool Boy's up to. What's he saying? Again, nothing. Nothing. Radio silence. I'm checking Trump's Truth Social again. Said update available. I'm not seeing anything. I see nothing. Man, Truth Social really is just like a complete Twitter ripoff. Like it's just this is just Twitter. This is Twitter with a different skin. Like okay. Well, that was his last message. Just leave this headline up as I grab some chats and probably get out of here unless someone sends me, unless I get sent some super chat of someone to look up. Just saw on Twitter, apparently the Deutsche Bank has been cooperating with the New York AG office. Yes, that's what the AG said in the Q&A. So consequences coming. Well, I mean, that was part of her. One of the things she laid out was how he got a loan from Deutsche Bank. So I'm sure they're part of that. I mean, that's why they are currently cooperating with them, as they are a part of the investigation in terms of their involvement in giving him loans. Eric Trump, has Eric Trump said anything? He's He's the slow one. It's not saying a whole lot. Does he have Twitter? I typed Eric Trump. Nothing. I mean, only fake accounts are coming up. Here he is. That's weird. Oh, he's freaking out. He's freaking out. Eric Trump's freaking out. Losing it. Losing his mind. He says here, Letitia James is not working for the AG's office. She is working for the DNC. 49 days before her election, newest poll has her tied with a Republican in New York State. Again, your dad and you broke the freaking law. When is a good time? Do you think Eric Trump, say this came the day after the midterms, Eric Trump would go and say, okay, well, she waited till after the midterms. It's all good now. Of course not. They would have a new excuse, a new reason why we should not be faced with this lawsuit. Give me a break. Again, the same video shown earlier of just Letitia James saying that, yes, Trump's a criminal. I don't really know what this is supposed to communicate here. More. These accusations are 100% bullshit. Eric Bolling here. They are widely used techniques by borrowers literally all the time. We break the law all the time. We break the law all the time. And now you go after one of the worst offenders? How dare you? Give me a fucking break. Sorry for, if you don't like swearing, I will stop. I will try. But this is so stupid. This is all the shit I told you earlier. They would say, oh, everyone does it, not a big deal. And at the same time, also attack her character. That's all they have to go on. They can't say any of this. So on one hand, the accusations are bullshit. At the same time, everyone does it. So did he do them or are they bullshit? Because you are taking both sides here in sentences one after another. Banks have responsibility to vet the worthiness of their loans. It's not your job to be the Wall Street bank's loan officer. It's their job to investigate financial crime, which is what they did. Kelly K says, curse on, David. Swear as much as you'd like, says not actual size. I guess all the kids are at school, right? But, you know, some people don't like cursing. It's fine. I get it. It can be distracting sometimes. Has anyone seen Inventing Anna? Yes, I did. Hot take. If Trump had been a woman, he would have been treated like Anna Delvey. Interesting take. I mean, wasn't he kind of already? The way that he's just been worshipped. And then, you know, eventually she, yes, was held accountable. But there are people that were big fans of hers. All right. Cussing encouraged. A lot of pro-cussing in the chat. Some people are actually cursing in the chat, and their chats are being automatically moderated. By the way, in case your chat's not showing up, you're like, what the hell? It's not me. There's a filter on here that catches things that oftentimes I think is perfectly fine. But it will catch like the F word. Okay. Well, I don't know why I'm leaving this stupid tweet up. Let's go to the best one, the best headline here. Legal bomb. More of these streams, please. Sure. That says that's from Steph. I'll do it just for you, Steph. More streams. When things happen live like this did, of course, it's an easy reason to do a stream. It's just hard to, like, if I'm going to do a stream on like just a normal day of shit hitting the fan, which is every day of news. It takes, a bit more time to prep some stories or figure out what I'm going to cover, make sure I know what the hell it is I'm covering. Then again, if I could just, maybe research on air, I guess some people do that. Wouldn't be the worst thing, but I could see that maybe being kind of boring. Since I got you all here, let me just go through some things that I may be working on for later, or may not be worth a discussion. But I saw this case study QB, always finding these great clips. This is a little disheartening, but I think the blame here is put in the wrong place. But let's watch.
How many of you plan on voting in the midterm elections this November?
What is that?
Got 3 here, 4.
I could. I filled out a ballot like a couple weeks ago. Was that for the November election? I don't even know.
I believe there was a primary.
Okay.
There's a primary election.
I'll just do what I did
Do that again. Who is your member of Congress, and do you think they're doing a good job?
I don't know anyone in Congress. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. That's totally fine. Does anyone know who their member of Congress is?
Stop. No.
Okay.
This made me cry. It's just like, John, it seems to me that the challenge is still to figure out how to engage young people civically, even on a local level, to have them understand the basic framework of our political system. I mean, these were bright young people, just like the folks that Daniela spoke with.
Now, I am curious where they got this group from. Is it just completely random? Because there are definitely a lot of young people who are engaged. I find it odd that not a single person here knew who their congressperson was. The issue here, I think, case study lays it out. Solution: actually teach civics in high school on how local, city, state, and federal government works. So yeah, the issue here is just lack of education in the system that they're already in. There definitely has to be more. And this is an issue, I think, in a lot of places. I know growing up in Canada, I would have had this exact same reaction before I got into this work, because I just, I didn't know. I wasn't taught. How would I know? So it's not, this is the thing that people need to keep in mind. It isn't their fault. Like, don't blame these people for not knowing what's going on. It isn't their, it's the system they operate in. It's how they are taught or not taught. It's the media they consume or don't consume. There's a lot of different factors, but the issue here isn't to be like, oh, look at these dumb people. The real thing to think about is, how can we fix this? What can be done to maybe address this and educate? And that's, where our mind should go. But it is definitely disheartening to see a complete lack of awareness, especially, right now, when personally, and I think a lot of experts would agree, and I'm only saying this because experts are saying this, that, kind of close to a potential fascist state with the state that the GOP are currently in, and what their voters believe, with the vast majority of them still thinking that Trump won the election. If you have lunatics like that control government, then yeah, likely not going to have a fair election again if they get back into power. But on a lighter note, that's possible. What else do I have here? No, this isn't lighter. Let's not get. This is maybe lighter. So, first of all, did you hear about this? See this? You hear about this? I think it's the COO of Beyond Meat. Yes, the Beyond Meat COO. He bit a man's nose in a fight. So, of course, every joke in the world comes up about, he got cravings. It's because he's not eating enough meat. He had to go for the, guy's nose, all that shit. But this Newsmax host, let's just watch this.
Next up, the COO of plant-based Beyond Meat, Doug Ramsey, has been suspended from the company, facing charges of terroristic threats, third-degree battery, after he bit a guy's nose off. The altercation happened
Beyond
in the parking
knows.
garage after the Arkansas-Missouri State football game.
Who
I
wrote that? That
assume
was funny.
alcohol was involved.
Not actual sex.
Ramsey was leaving the garage in his Bronco when a Subaru cut him off, hit the front tire on the passenger side. On impact, Ramsey got out of the car, punched through the back windshield of a Subaru. The other driver got out, and it led to a big fight and then a little bit of cannibalism. My question is, did the nose taste better than those Beyond Burgers? I suspect that they did. It did. But I can't be sure. I've never had one. I eat actual cows. If that offends you, I'm sorry. I just like the way cows taste.
How, and this applies to everything that is really anything where it's like easy for you to engage in. How can you have an opinion on the taste of Beyond Meat before actually having it and saying that the nose tastes better? Like, it's so, Beyond Meat, first of all, is pretty good. You should try it. Even as a meat eater, you should try it. It tastes to me, in my opinion, it tastes like a better version of meat, a cleaner version. It doesn't make you feel like shit afterwards. You're not like sweating grease. Like it's a much more enjoyable experience from front to back, literally. So it's just nothing's wrong with Beyond Meat, but it's just wild how these people are so anti anyone else having any fake meat at all that they must claim that nose probably tastes better. A man's nose. You rather eat human meat than eat Beyond Meat. Pretty funny. But it's always amazed me that people can just have such strong opinions about things that just exist out in the world that they don't even engage with. Like hating things my other big pet peeve is hating a video game you have not played. Like, how can you hate a movie you haven't watched? How can you do that? just don't talk about it. You can just not talk about it. You don't have to hate something you haven't actually seen or experienced. But people do that a lot when it comes to vegan options, or just the fact that they exist. They're offended that people don't want to eat what they're eating. If any, they should be happy. There are more cows now for you to eat because there are some people not eating them. That should make you happy. But they are not for freedom. They are for consolidation. They want everyone to be the same. They want a bunch of robots just thinking and acting the same, not allowing them to, experience life differently. But whatever. Beyond Meat. Brian Holmes says Beyond Meat isn't healthy, but it's tasty. Yeah, I think it's a little healthier than real meat, but it's not like you're not eating a carrot. Like you're eating a bunch of, fake shit. It's not, of course, not going to be the healthiest thing. Oh, the sensible streamer with some information. He previously had a career at Tyson Foods for 3 decades and has been at Beyond Meat for less than a year. All right. So those cravings really hit. They hit around the 6-month mark. It's when you really crave a piece of meat. So you'll just go for a man's nose if it fits. Man, a lot of debate in the chat about meat, about fake meat. It's okay. People don't have to eat what you're eating. It's okay. You'll be fine. Okay. This one there's one I'm looking at right now that I'm not going to bring up because I'm probably going to do a video on it. Then again, should I do a separate video on this Trump stuff? No. No, I don't have to, right? You all watch this. Rome says, wouldn't it be great if Trump was arrested at a rally? That would be great. That would be hilarious. typical Canadian wants to see me do a focus on Pierre Poilievre in the future. I discussed him a bit in my live stream. I'm sort of waiting for my live stream on Sunday. I'm waiting for the next story around him to have a reason to, like, this is how I normally operate when it comes to anything. I will find like a news item and then use that as a jumping off point to get into a deeper topic about that thing or something around that thing. So, I mean, you may even notice this with some of my videos where I will start in one place and end somewhere completely different, because the whole point is to try to educate people, right? So to educate people, most people are not attracted to just a random information dump about a person. There has to be a reason, like a piece of news, something that draws people in, and then that then allows me to use that as the reason to then further educate people on whatever topic. So I try to be strategic about this because, again, the aim here is to educate the most people. So I often use news to do that as the beginning. But so I will wait, and I'm sure something will come up. Like he'll say something else stupid, you know, something will happen where it'll give me a reason to do a deeper, because the day he became the leader, sorry, in case no one knows who the hell Pierre Poilievre is, he's the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada, the new leader. The day he became leader was the day I began my vacation for a week. So once I came back, it was just kind of late to do any news on that, but I will be discussing him for sure. Justice Ricketts says Beyond ingredients are cleaner than Impossible Burger ingredients. You know what? Just based on having both of them, I think it sounds like you know what you're talking about because you made one statement, but I believe you because I've had both. The Impossible Burger definitely tastes a little less healthy than the Beyond Meat Burger, but they're both good. May King says update on NDP promises fulfilled/unfulfilled by Trudeau. Good question. I'm gonna have to get back around on that because there is that deal between the NDP and the Liberals that there, won't be an election or a challenge for one until 2025, I believe, based on Trudeau delivering certain things like dental care. So I will get back around and see where we are on all of those promises. Cursing adds a little spice. Don't be bland. Fair enough. But also, I mean, emphasis does. Like, I don't know if anyone here watches TYT, but I've noticed Anna Kasparian uses feckless a lot, and I feel like it's clear to me that she uses feckless in place of the F word. It's just the emphasis given. These people are feckless. Like it's a fun word to say, and you could put emphasis on it in a way that you can put emphasis on, cursing. So like there are certain words like I love saying bullshit. Bullshit is a great word. And I use it often. I guess it's kind of swearing, but not really because you put bull in front of it. It's no longer shit. So it's bullshit. So there are, some words that I tend to rely on in place of cursing. But I may start using feckless. Feckless is fun to say. Feckless. Feckless. This guy is feckless. Goddamn feckless Trump. What a feckless feckler. That maybe doesn't work, but What else did I have here? Let's just do this one thing. Here's some Canadian content. This is Jamie Sale, who I believe is a gold medalist. I believe Canadian here, but she went crazy during the pandemic. All that shit. Saying here, to a fake tweet, Jamie Sale believing his fake tweet. This fake tweet says, "It has come to my attention that Trudeau must go has been trending for more than 24 hours. This is nothing more than the work of Putin and the CPC in an effort to discredit me. This is precisely why our government has committed to regulating and censoring Canadian online content." This is not a real Trudeau tweet. This is a fake tweet. Anyways, Jamie Sale, of course, falls for it hook, line, and sinker, saying, "Nice try, Trudeau. Your lies and manipulation aren't working anymore. You've been censoring Canadians who go against your tyrannical government for way too long. It's game over. Hashtag crimes against humanity. Hashtag treason." And then this person here says, "I'm so disappointed that 12,600 people are as dumb as Jamie Sale for thinking this Trudeau tweet is real." Yeah. I have been constantly amazed, especially during the pandemic, just what people will believe. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised anymore. Liz Berry says, "Anna Kay says it better. Sorry." Keep the BS, you say that best. Okay. All right. I won't say feckless anymore. No more feckless. It's all about the bullshit. Bullshitters. I'll just start saying bucko like Jordan Peterson. Bucko! These goddamn buckos. A properly placed F-bomb multiplies the impact of your intelligence. Okay. Typical Canadian says, "I don't really care for Trudeau, but there's an unhealthy hate with Canadian right-wingers on Trudeau." Yeah, like, if you go on my channel and search Trudeau, you will find the vast majority of my videos involving Trudeau are negative, are criticizing him. I don't got to make shit up to criticize Justin Trudeau. There are plenty of real reasons to criticize Justin Trudeau. But these people are so out in, bizarro land that they will believe anything. And they have to invent reasons to dislike him because he has been way too kind to that sort of thinking. Yes, the tyranny in Canada. The tyranny. Censoring. That's why Jamie Sale was able to say this really dumb thing with a giant tweet lie, because you are being censored. Lucan Brightblade, I don't know why this was hidden automatically for review, but says, quote, "Send my skillless ass some cash," and then tags me in the quote, David Dole. That's correct. Send my skillless ass some cash. Thank you. Thank you, Lucan. Criticism and hatred are not the same. True. True. I criticize, the right hates. That is very true. What time is it? Oh my God, it's 1:02? What the frig? I was thinking, oh, is it noon now? Should I get some lunch? It's 1:02. Is that right? Well, apparently it's correct. Oh yeah, that's right, because the press conference was initially going to be at 10:30. It was pushed to 11:30. So it does make sense that it is now past 1 o'clock. All right, well, I should probably do a real, like a normal video. Maybe. Or this could be my work for today. I don't know. But maybe I should go. All right. Thank you all for showing up. I think I got all your super chats. Don't want to miss anybody. Yes, I did. All right. Thank you all. This was fun. I would like to do more live streams. Hit the subscribe button below. You could also join on YouTube if you prefer. Or, as I said earlier, join on Patreon, therationalnational.com/join, or there are links below the video to the Patreon page and other ways to support my channel. As that dude said earlier, send my skillless ass some cash. All right. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a good day.